Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, we are going to import and transform data from a Microsoft Access database. Before we import the data into the Power BI desktop, we will need to change the local regional settings to United States. This is because the data we are working with is based on a US format. Also, we'll need to create a new directory on the C drive of our computer. So if you've got a C drive on your computer, create a new directory. I've called mine .207x and I've created it in my C drive. You don't have to create it in your C drive and you don't need to name it that way, but if you want to be on the same page as I am, then probably best you just do what I do so that we are on the same page. And finally, we are going to extract a zipped file, which is a zipped Microsoft Access database file. We're going to extract that file inside the new directory that we are going to create. So I have created the directory already. So this is a directory. You can see it says .207x and I've created it on my C drive. This is the Microsoft Access database file. This file is going to be available in a zipped format under the resource page for this lecture, so you can download it. So once you've got it inside this directory, just right click and extract it and just click on extract here. The zipped file, you need a software that can extract it. I am using a software called 𝒕𝒂𝒏𝒈. 𝒕𝒂𝒏𝒈 is free, so you can use it to unzip files, which is what I've done here. So this is the Access database file that has been unzipped. So this is a file we're going to connect to and transform the data. I have got my Power BI desktop open. So I'm going to click on this Get Data link and click on More. We'll wait for it to bring up the screen here. And on the Get Data, I'm going to select Access Database and I'm going to click Connect. So it's going to prompt me. So I need to browse to where that file is. So this is the file here, the Access database file. I'm going to click on it and click Open. So it's going to try and launch the file. So trying to connect to it. We'll give it a few minutes to try and establish connection. If it's the first time that you are connecting to an Access database, you may experience an error. If you do get an error, just follow the screen instructions. You may need to download some patch or something. It will tell you anyway on the screen. Just follow that screen instructions. So now we can see in the navigator window that we've been able to connect to our Access database file. And you can see here I've got 6 tables listed here for that database. So if I want to view them, I can just click on the check box next to it. And you can see it shows me a preview of what's inside that table. So I'm going to do the rest as well. And that one, and that, and that. I'm going to leave the last one. So these are all the tables that I've viewed, and you can see I've checked on them. So the way the data is at the moment, I can load it directly into my Power BI desktop without transforming it or shaping it in any way. But I want to make some changes. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on Edit. So if I click on Edit, it will open up a new query window, which is going to be the Power Query window that will enable me to shape and modify the data to my taste. So I'm going to click Edit and that will open up the query editor. You can see here it says Power Query Editor on title because I've not given it a name. So you can see these are all the tables that have been brought into the Power Query Editor. So I can now start making changes or shape the data. Before we start shaping the data and transforming it, we need to make sure we change the local settings. So on that file, click options and settings, click options, and then we'll go to the options page. On that current file, click on regional settings and change the settings to show United States. So make sure you have the US selected. So I got English United States selected and click OK. By doing it that way, that means it will be in line with the data that we are trying to work with. So let's start transforming some of this data. So under the queries here, we've got 5 queries. Inside the Power Query Editor, the tables are regarded as queries. And if you look in the query settings on the right here, it tells you the applied steps. The applied steps basically indicates the steps, each step that you have taken so far in transforming or interacting with the data. So you can see that I've got one step here, which is the source, when I connected to the source, and then I navigated the data source. So now I'm going to start making some transformation. So let's start with the queries. So I'm going to start with each query at a time. So the first query I am going to start with here is this query called sales_fact. So make sure you've got that selected, sales_fact. While that is selected, select the date column from that query. So that is the date column. Make sure you have that selected. And while that date column is selected, inside the ribbon area, make sure the transform tab is selected. And then within the transform type, there is a data type. So click on the data type. At the moment, the data type is showing as text. Click on the drop down and select date. Okay, you can see it changes to date. So as you can see, as we begin to make changes under the applied steps, it also reflects. It tells you here, I've changed something. So anytime you want to go back, if you're not happy with the steps, you can always delete the applied steps and then start again if you wish to do so. So right, under the date column, click on the drop down and you see this thing that says date filters. Click on date filters, and within that date filters menu, click on the one that says after. Click on that. It will bring up a window. So it gives you this window here. Because we have now changed our local regional settings to US, so we should be able to have the data format in US. So let's enter a value in the field. So you can either click on the drop down, enter this format. So let's enter a format. Let's change the date. So change the date here to say 31/12/99. If your date format is set to DD, that is day, month, and year, so set it that way. If your date format is set to day, month, and year, then you set it to reflect that. So once you've got that entered in there, click OK. If the format is not right, you get a little warning sign here telling you that. So next, let's select another query here. This time I'm going to select the query that says by date. So click on that. This query that says by date. Make sure you have the date column selected and make sure you have the ribbon showing. Okay. So within the ribbon area here, you can see the data type is showing as text. We want to change that to date. So click on the drop down, change that to date. You can see it's trying to change that. It's changed it to date. So we're going to do what we did previously. So click on the drop down and under filters, go to after, and then we're going to enter a date format. So enter this format 31/12/99, which basically indicates the format, which is day, month, and year. Once you've done that, click OK. The next thing I want to do is rename the queries. All these queries here, inside on the left hand side here, I want to rename all of them. So I'll start with the first one, which says by_date. I'm going to right click on it, and there should be an option for rename. Click rename, and I'm going to just call this date, and then press enter, and that renames it. And I'll go on to the next one. I'll highlight it and click rename, and I'm going to call this one locations, and press enter. And I'll do the same with the next one. I'll right click, click rename. I'm going to call this one manufacturers, and I'll do the next one. I'll rename again, and I'm going to call this one product. And then finally the last one, I'll right click, rename, and I'm going to call this one sales. So once you've done that, if you now click on the home option inside the ribbon area, click on home, and then click on this button that says close and apply. Click on that and then select close and apply. So what that will do, it will try and apply the changes. So we'll wait for it to apply the changes, and then we can probably view the changes. So it's trying to apply, so it's applying all the queries at the moment. So we can see here on the right hand side under the field section that our queries, which are the tables, has been brought into the Power BI desktop. So you can still make further modifications if you wish to do so. What I want to do, I want to rename this manufacturer. I just want to add an S to it. So I'm just going to say rename, and I just add an S to the end and press enter. So you can also explore and view the imported data in the data view. So there are three views. The default view is the report view, and then we've got this view here, which is the data view. So if I click on that, this is the data view. So you can play around and explore the data that you have imported into the Power BI desktop. So that's the data view. You can see this is the model view, and this here is the report. I'm going to end this video here. In the next video, we are going to import data from a folder that contains several Excel files. So we're going to incorporate that data into the data that we've already imported. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.